of a major championship winner. The Australian Cameron Smith had a year to remember, which kicked off in January with the win of the Century Tournament of Champions, held off John Rahm, finished at 34 under par, which was a 72-hole record, and he wasn't done. March won the Players by one shot over Arnold Lahiri, 10 birdies in the final round. In July, became the first Aussie to win the Open since Greg Norman with his victory at the 150th at St. Andrews. And then the Australian PGA Championship, Smith secured the victory by 3 shots. The Australian PGA able to get it done. So I guess the question is, how do you make sense of this year? And I've said it at this desk. I miss watching him week to week on the PGA Tour. I could travel down another YouTube rabbit hole, I guess, to watch him. But what do you make of the year that was?
So Rex and I on this Newsmakers storylines of the year, and we have Cameron Smith at number 4 there. What we tried to tackle was, is Cameron Smith the player of the year in 2022? And I think I actually talked myself into the argument.
You think it's yes?
That he is.
Wow.
I know Live Chicago event is not an official event. There's no player in the top 50 of the world who had 5 wins as Cameron Smith did. The Players' Championship is the strongest field.
You're counting Live Chicago. Chicago? You're counting it.
It's a victory.
Not an official, not recognized by the WTR.
No,
okay.
But for our purposes and
for your purposes,
Rex and I are golf writers. You used to be a golf writer. We have the GWA Player of the Year. The vote is due soon. We're supposed to take an all-encompassing look of who played the best golf during the calendar year. And to me, it's Cameron Smith. His resume is the best.
Better than Scotty Scheffler, who actually became the #1 player in the world, who won the Masters as the #1 player in the world, who won the match play, got out of that remarkably tough group, got out of the Fleetwood Poulter group with Fitzpatrick in there as well.
He had to beat 7 guys. Cameron Smith beat 143. That's the strongest field in golf, the Players' Championship.
Only one man put on a green jacket in 2022. And that
only one man who hoisted the claret jug.
But how about the match play? And how about the Arnold Palmer Invitational, which now is an elevated event and is the Invitational, was one of the most coveted trophies on the PGA Tour, not to mention Phoenix, different golf courses, different grasses, different questions asked.
I'm not scoffing at Scotty Scheffler's 2022. I want to be very clear about that. In fact, on the show on Tuesday, I said he's due to follow up his breakthrough year in 2022 with 3 wins again in 2023. Actually, if I was voting, I think I would actually put Rory McIlroy as my second best player of the year in 2020. If we're talking about the players who play the best golf, statistically, you look at all the strokes gain metrics, Rory McIlroy played the best golf.
Every time I looked up, Scheffler was holing out from off the green.
I understand that. And I don't even think it'd be an argument in regards to Scotty Scheffler being the player of the year in 2022 had he held on to victory maybe at Colonial, certainly the Tour Championship.
The Tour Championship one.
If he stands alone as the FedEx Cup champion in 2022, I don't even think it's a conversation at this point. But as we sit here today, December 7th, it's a very real conversation.
I agree with that.
The player of the year.
I think it's very, very close. But how about Cameron Smith going forward then in this new reality that he has as a live golfer? And the World Golf Hall of Fame member Gary Player said it. I don't think playing in those events prepares you correctly for winning major championships. Are you concerned that Cameron Smith's best golf is behind him now?
I don't know if I'd go quite that far. It is exceedingly rare to have an elite player who has the skill set that he does. You look at the best players in the world, whether it's John Rahm, Rory McIlroy, Scotty Scheffler, Xander Schauffele, those guys are dominant off the tee, and yet Cameron Smith is the outlier in that he actually loses strokes to the field with his driver play. In that regard, he's kind of Spiethian to me, where he's, average length, maybe a little bit crooked, but that's when the fun begins. That's when his artistry comes out. He took massive leaps with his iron play this year, and then you put it together with the best, I would call it short game putting combo in the world. Is that sustainable for a long window of success? Probably not. But I still think he can have a very fruitful next 2 or 3 years, even if he's, playing live golf as his major preparatory tournaments.
It's interesting that you do point to the short game and the putter. Always have been his strong suit. I'll never forget spending time with him on the practice putting green at Torrey Pines during the U.S. Open. This is before the stardom hit for him. He was all alone. So I went up and talked to him. I go, what are you working on? He goes, I'm working on par savers, the 15-foot, 18-foot, 12-foot putts, and just trying to make them again and again. And that's what we saw at the Open, the ability to get up and down when he did hit it crooked, to save shots better than anybody at St. Andrews. I just wonder, from a competitive juice standpoint, can you get the blood pumping in the same way? That really tight focus that you need to kind of ramp up, as Pete Sampras used to call it, to be match tough. Can you be match tough playing 54 holes with the pyrotechnics against players that aren't as good as you would normally see on the PGA Tour?
And we don't have the answer right now. It's such a small sample size. Liv started the week before the U.S. Open, so then the Open Championship, and obviously Cameron Smith then defected to Liv at the end of the PGA Tour season. That's certainly going to be one of the main storylines to watch. Do we see a significant fall-off in performance of the Cameron Smiths, the Dustin Johnsons, the continued slides for a Brooks Koepka or Bryson DeChambeau, or are they kind of reinvigorated in this new format playing 54-hole golf?
And I know you and Rex Hoggard are talking about Cameron Smith on the Golf Central podcast out today.
Out today.
All right, look for that, folks at home. Stay with us on the other side of the break.